What is going on, YouTube universe? Welcome to the Hip and Shoulder, where we discuss everything Australian rules football, and today our attention turns to SuperCoach once more, with Gather Round kicking off later tonight. I've fumbled and I've left this one a little bit too late, but before I show my round 4 team and we discuss the moves I'm making heading into round 5, we need to rewind just a little bit more because I didn't get a video out for round 3 heading into round 4. So in reflection, this is how I went that given week. I scored 18-20, which isn't too bad. It placed me in the top 34%. It could have been a hell of a lot better. We slipped about 2,500 places, but we are still sitting within the top 5% of total score, which I am absolutely happy with. Looking at the team, you will see it on screen. We're not going to run through it. I'm just going to show you this is what I scored. This is how we fared. But ultimately, heading into round 4, these are the decisions I made. We got rid of Leo Lombard and we got rid of Christian Petrarca. And we picked up Oscar Stein, who didn't deliver as much comparatively to his first game, but I'm still happy we brought him in because I don't see him getting dropped from this Collingwood lineup. He fits the mold of the new ruck rules incredibly well. He only played 50% of game time last week and scored 40 odd. If that increases to 60, 70, 80%, we get a better score out of him. So he's one definitely to bring in if you don't have him yet, and I wouldn't so much worry about the score from his second outing because, as I just said, time on bench versus time on ground, once that shifts, we're going to get a better score. The big move for me was Christian Petrarca out, bringing in Marcus Bontempelli, and we did incredibly well in that retrospect because he returned some very big dividends for us, which you're about to see on screen right now. This week, we scored 1860, which puts us better placed than that 34%. We move up to 29%. However, we did drop just over 3,500 places. We were sniffing the top 5,000, and just in a blink, 2 rounds back to back, we are outside almost of the top 12,000. So I'm still happy with our placing right now, considering there's 180,000 and we're sitting in the top 12. I want to start moving back up though. We want to have our best return for SuperCoach, and I feel we are knocking on the door of that this year. Once we start getting things falling into place, I feel we can start making big moves, and big moves is what we're going to be doing this week. I'm going to potentially make a move that some people might drag me for, but the 2 players that we're going to bring in, as well as dropping one out, could be a game changer for us. I don't know. This is how the team looked for round 4. Final bye round, no GWS, no St Kilda, and it was no St Kilda that hurt us the most because I've got St Kilda players in almost every single line minus the ruck line. Having a look at defence, Josh Dacos only managed a 94, he's dropped a little bit in price, he's still averaging just under 110, so I'm happy to keep him even by the end of the year. If he turns out to be a D5, D6, he'll still score us 90 odd every week. So for his price, we probably expect a little bit more, but with how Collingwood have been kind of hampered a little bit with injury and they've had to move some pieces around, I'm still happy with his output. Josh Worrell bounces back from the 90 odd in round 3. He comes out in round 4, gives us 120. So glad we picked him up. In hindsight, we probably looked at somebody like a Tom Stewart in this role. We did look at Lockie Ash as well, but it was just more so about keeping money available to us for last week to transition into Bontempelli's trade heading into round 4. Sam Gruel came out and gave us a 90. Very happy. He is very clean with disposal. He loves taking the game on. He's going to get plenty of it. And barring injury, this kid's not getting dropped out of Richmond's best 23. So he's going to keep making money for us as long as he stays out on the field. Lockie Jarks, 67. Average of 75. Out of all the rookies from the Bulldogs, he seems to be the one that we can keep for a little while longer. His role is solid. He's scoring well enough for his role. I'm just a little bit concerned that once he starts to peter out a little bit, it's going to be him and Selwood kind of needing to be moved out around about the same time. So keep an eye on that. Jai Sarong comes out and bangs out a 126. Big return for coaches that kept him around long enough. This is the output we want to start seeing from him. He's capable of 90 to 100 most weeks if he can get his hands on the ball. He loves to take the game on the outside. They just need to start utilising him more. He comes out and shows that not only can he belt out a good SuperCoach score, but on the day was well within the best 5 ranked players on the field. So as long as they start realizing that he actually is good with ball in hand and they start getting to him more, we could start seeing some monster scores out of this kid. Selwood, 28, he could be one that we start looking at moving very, very soon. I mean, I've got Jack Sinclair sitting on my bench who didn't play, so Selwood's only a bench player for me at best, but it's just a little bit unfortunate that he showed so much promise, he's failing to deliver, and when it comes to some other players coming back into circulation for the Bulldogs, he could be the first dropped, so let's keep an eye on that. Sinclair obviously didn't play. Dirksen debuted with a 53, and he keeps his spot for another week, given the fact that Wiedering got concussed and will miss gather round, so he will be on the bubble heading into round 6, so something to keep an eye on. In the midfield, we rolled the dice. We put the vice-captaincy on Butters, who only managed 114 against Richmond. Locked in the captaincy on Bontempelli against Essendon, 153. I said it when I traded him in. He would score at least 140 against Essendon. He did 153. I'm a very happy man. Tuke Miller got an 88, down on output, but he was heavily tagged by Tholstrup, which some might laugh at, but Tholstrup has actually scalped a few players this year, and it wasn't Anderson or Rowell they went to. It was Tuke Miller. I have a feeling somebody turned around and said that, you know, your boy's got him in your SuperCoach team, go tag him out. Fucking bastards. Luke Davies-Uniacke, 115. Hits his average. Very happy that I made this selection to start the year off. It was a dodged bullet that I didn't start Errol Goulden. I already had to get rid of Petrarca. We got rid of Connor Rozee, but Errol Goulden was one that I was kind of a little bit shaky on. So when we made the move to bring in a Tuke Miller and a Luke Davies-Uniacke instead of Errol Goulden, it's returned dividends to me. I mean, Tuke Miller's set to get forward mid DPP after round 5, so his ownership, I feel... What's his ownership right now? Because when I started him, he was only at 2% owned. I would love to know his ownership right now. He's in 3% of teams. Watch that blow out to like 10%, 15% as soon as he becomes a forward-eligible player, because we're still very shallow when it comes to premium selections down there. Walsh got a 91, and while this sounds crazy, I'm actually going to be trading Sam Walsh out this week. It's a bit rough, but when you look at it in isolation, yes, he copped a little bit of attention last week with a tag, but other weeks where he hasn't, he's still getting 30-odd disposals, but he is not generating a big enough score. He's barely cracking 100 points. Like, he's got an average of 108, and for someone sitting on that price, someone who should be, you know, getting 100 plus every week given his output, somebody who was touted as having a huge preseason, he's failing to deliver. And I'm going to be bringing somebody in who has a huge negative break even, somebody who's going to be making us a lot of money, someone who's going to be the perfect pivot point to bring a premium player in when the time comes. And this downgrade allows me to do 2 other moves, which is going to bolster this team exponentially. Tanner Bruhn with a 92, easily the best starting mid-pricer of the year, and I'm glad I didn't go with a Hayden Young. I'm glad I didn't go with a Darcy Parish, but I'm very glad I stuck with Tanner Bruhn, because while he keeps scoring like this, he ain't going anywhere. Jaga Smith managed a 70, a little bit down on output, but again, he's still one of the best rookies out there, so it would be crazy to look at getting rid of him until he gets injured. He's not going out of this team. I mean, weirder things could happen. Fucking, they went and they dropped George Hewitt this week heading into gather round, so maybe they go and they drop Jagger Smith one week and just shock the world. I don't know, but he shouldn't be going anywhere. Blameyer's got a 56, again a little bit down on his average, but he's making us money. This was a guy that started off at 99k, he's already up to 227, he's going to make us plenty of cash. Very glad I made the move to start him pre-round 0. On the bench, obviously, Nick Dacos, late withdrawal with the calf. He has been confirmed to be returning this week to gather round, so he's straight back in. Watkins is concerning. He played a hell of a lot of time on ground and only managed 7 SuperCoach, so might be looking at pulling the trigger on him, and there are some options for us because Collingwood have come out this week and announced that Angus Anderson is going to be making his debut. He was one that was on my radar pre-season. Didn't get selected for round 0, so I took him out of the team for Blameyers, actually, and he could be one that we look at bringing into the side in a couple of weeks' time. Carroll obviously didn't play either. Tristan Cherry, I decided to keep him initially. I thought, okay, he's suspended for 3 weeks. He's going to miss one of those in a round where only it's best 18, and then it's 2 weeks back-to-back that he misses. However, I don't know whether I can stem the flow long enough to keep him in the team. I mean, we do have McAndrew, who goes out and scores 123, but I would rather have McAndrew there in the flex, because that means I'd have to do what I did last week and move Dirksen to the flex, move ZZ Top to defense, and then have Andrew on field, and that just gives me one less scoring opportunity when I'm looking at potentially bringing in 2 ruckmen this week. English got a 79 before doing his MCL. Broke my heart. And the start with Cherry and English, I mean, average of 131, average of 109. We went a little bit rogue with our selections. I mean, we could have gone to Grundy, we could have gone to Gorn. We didn't. And it's funny because we went this route and it was working for us, but now that it's kind of blown up in our face, I'm looking at bringing in Gorn and Grundy, and there are some people that think I shouldn't be imparting any type of knowledge or feigning that I know what I'm doing because I don't have Gorn or Grundy in my team already. Cherry and English was working perfectly fine until the injury and the suspension, so hey, fuck me for doing something a little bit different, right? Deep forward, Sheasel only managed the 97, but we'll still take that. He's still the best forward premium that we all should have at this point in time. I'm actually quite surprised he is not higher owned. He's only in 80% of teams. I don't know what the other 20% are doing. Butterick comes out and gets us a 72. Now, a lot of people are trading Butterick out this week. I wouldn't be. His role is solid. He's scoring mid, 70s to 80s each week. Don't get rid of him. Don't get rid of him until he starts petering out and it looks like the money's going to start, seeping. He's still going to make us a bit of cash. He's not going anywhere out of this team. You'd be crazy to get rid of him in a season where injuries are happening and rookies are kind of a little bit harder to come by, especially ones that can bang out a 70-odd every week. Cook only got a 60. Again, same premise. He's still going to get plenty of game time. He is playing a role right now that is still open to him at least for the next month and a half while there's some injuries going down. So he's not going anywhere. And he's going to play well into my team because there's going to be a few players getting that forward mid DPP, and I'm going to be able to actually finally start swinging some players around, which is great. Robertson didn't play. He'll come back in this week, and he has been scoring like an absolute machine. He's not going out of my team for a very long time. Marshall could miss another week, but that's okay, because I've got 2 players on my bench here in Flanders and Philippou that I can easily bring back on this week, and Marshall can sit on the bench. Some people are trading Marshall out. I think when he comes back in, he's still going to score like a house on fire. His role is very score dominant, intercept marker, taking in kicks. He's going to be generating some big scores once he gets back onto the track. It's just a matter of when he gets back on. As I mentioned, Oscar Stein only got the 41. However, he did have limited minutes. It says here Stein was playing his second game and his splitting time with Darcy Cameron. He couldn't back up the first score, but his break even is low at minus 52. But just be aware that a big score rolls out of the cycle after the next game. Okay. Alright, so that, yeah, okay. His next game, you're going to have that big 80 odd that he scored out of circulation, and then we're working on a 41, whatever he scores this week, and then the following. So, I think he's got another big game in him. And I definitely think up against Fremantle, he could get the upper hand around the ground. I'm still happy to bring him in. He's going to generate some cash. And McAndrew, obviously 123. Best move I made was putting him in the flex like many others did, and we are reaping reward for effort. Now, we move into our decision-making process for this round. I will be using a boost, and as I said, I am going to be getting rid of Sam Walsh. English is out for 3 to 6, so English is gone, and I'm going to get rid of Tristan Cherry. I could keep Cherry for 2 extra weeks, but again, it's for me at this point in time with how my team is shaping up, I need to get players on the ground that are going to score and score big, and we can keep around for a while. So, the big 2 straight up, Max Gawn, Brodie Grundy. Welcome to the team. We could have started them. We could have started them both. I tried doing something a little bit different, and it was working, as I said. But now we default into Gaundy, and it's happening. This is where my decision-making kind of goes a little bit astray, because there's 2 players that we could potentially bring in here. The first of which was, and hang on, we'll get up scores from the round, and we will talk about it. In defense, Where's he at? Where's he at? Where's he at? How high did he score, actually? He didn't score that high, did he? Where you at, you bastard? Oh, it's only showing me midfielders. Okay. If I move Sam Grill, we now will be able to find him. It was Kitty Coleman. Comes out and scores 113. It says here, Kitty was great again this week with his 22 touches and 10 marks. He's best for the season so far, and he is looking fantastic. Well done for those that held. He is sitting at an 80 average, which is a little bit down on what, we're trading out. We're trading out someone who was averaging 100, but obviously Coleman and his roll-off of half-back, sometimes pushing up to a wing, is a very tasty prospect, especially now that Brisbane are bouncing back and they're using him well. He has a negative break-even of 42. He's going to generate much more cash for us. He's currently sitting at 311. He came off of a near 50k boost off of last game. He's definitely one I'm considering in this role. And the other one that we could potentially consider, he's already got mid-forward eligibility. It is, and some people might be surprised, I'm heavily considering Tim Kelly. 429,000. Wouldn't leave us with much in the kitty, but he's averaging 100. Averaging 100. And again, I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago that he could be one to look at in this particular role, given the fact that we're getting very little looks at some players that are going to generate decent score for forward options. And he's come out and scored 90 odd, 100 odd, and then 95 on the weekend from his 3. Could be one worth considering. Only 429,000. I mean, around the same price point, I suppose, if we were to just shift Cook up into the midfield and we can have a look here at the forward options. Zach Bailey, 480. If you wanted to look at him, he's averaging 99. He could be a good option for us. McInerney, again, averaging 103. 480 odd. Could be one to look at, but again, he scored 105 and he lost 10k this week, so maybe he's going to dip a little bit in price. 438 for Joel Frazier, averaging 84. His role looks okay too, but I don't have enough money for him, unfortunately, just yet. But having a look at the scores that we've seen from him, 50, 60, 121, 104. Last 2 weeks, he's definitely solidified his scoring potential, and he's shown that to us. There's a few that we can go with this week, and I think I'm probably leaning towards Kitty Coleman here. Having a look at his games, he's gone 60 and 50, okay, very average, but then 100 and 113. He's really gotten back to being used the way that we'd like to see him being used, and again, with a negative break even of 42, he's going to make a lot more money. He's going to get us to a point where he's going to be an easy flip to a primo defender. If you've got a Sam Grill in your team, you can move Grill to defense. You can bring in a primo mid. I feel this is the play. More so the fact that if we bring in Coleman, we bank 122,000, and this is where we can start making some moves around the ground, because we can have a look and we can say, okay, Tanner Brun's getting to a point where if he starts to peter out, we can upgrade to a primo midfielder if we want to. Selwood, a downgrade, would get us more cash, and then we can push somebody like a Lockie Jarks up. It's a tasty prospect with what we've got here with the money that we can use. I mean, Tim Kelly's scoring a better average. He's got 100 with a 90, 100, and a 95. He seems to be getting a lot of points from contested inside midfield work. I don't know whether there's anybody pushing him out, and this is where things are interesting, because if we don't go Coleman and we go a Kelly instead, and I can show you his point breakdown to show that he's been very consistent. Looking at his season stats, North Melbourne, he's gotten a 90. Port Adelaide, he got 119. Playing Sydney, where they get belted, he scores a 95. And it was only worth a jump of 28,000 with a break even of, I don't know what his break even was, considering his score. Actually, I'm going to look that up right now. Let me tell you what his break even is. We'll have a talk about it. Tim Kelly only has a break even of 43. And if that's the case, we could see him in the next few weeks go up to close enough to 500k. Now, while this trade would only leave me 4,000 in the bank, bringing him in now affords me luxury. By the time the next 5 weeks play out and we hit the mid-season buys, he jumps straight to a primo mid. He jumps straight to a primo forward. He could be the stepping stone that we use to get Christian Petrarca back into the team. I'm a little bit worried, even though Coleman seems to have turned his luck around and he scored plus 100 the last 2 weeks. He did score a 60 and a 50 in their first two. And it goes to show that when Brisbane have been on the back foot and they've been losing, he has struggled to score. But when Brisbane have ball in hand and they're winning games, that's when his scores are being generated at a higher rate. Now, we could be fumbling this Tim Kelly selection here, but I feel outside of injury, and we know Tim Kelly is fucking an injury-prone lad, but then again, Coleman is exactly the same. We're bringing in someone who's got a higher average. He's been more consistent this year, and I feel we can trust him better in the role. I feel we can trust him better in this role. We bring in Kelly. He's only going to have to put out a few decent scores. If we have a look here at his scores, it's showing me he'll definitely hit his break even of 43, so that'll be around 29,000 if he can. That he'll get. His price change will go up, and then we're looking at another 22k, and then potentially another 15k, and then another 10k. So over his next 3 weeks, we could see him go from 430, from anywhere from 470 to 490. And again, that's knocking on the door, 60k difference between him and a primo mid that we can bring in, or a mid that's fallen in price. Even a defender, if we wanted to, that's fallen in price. I mean, Jordan Clark is currently sitting around a point where if we sort by price, pretty sure Jordan Clark in defense is knocking on the door of potentially dropping it down to less than 500k, right? He's on the drop. I know for a fact he's on the drop. I don't know how high up we need to go to have a look at it. But just in isolation, we can look here. Tom Stewart, 550. We've got, he's down to 546, but he's dropping cash. So if he drops that over the next few weeks, he'll be looking closer to 500k to bring in. All these other defenders, we can look at bringing in Jack Steele, who is officially on my radar. He would only be a 60k jump in the next couple of weeks, depending on how much money he continues to make. I think we're doing the right move here with Tim Kelly. We could be in a better position to keep Coleman. I mean, again, if we look at Coleman, as I reach off camera and grab my phone once more, Coleman is interesting because of the negative break even. But again, he's only scoring well when Brisbane are playing well. If Brisbane start to teeter again, his score goes wayward. At least with West Coast, they've just gotten belted by 128 points by Sydney, but he still manages a 95. So, looking at Brisbane, have a quick little sneaky peek at the stats of Coleman. As I said, it will be a negative 42 break even, which is tasty in its own right when you think about the potential to make money. He's only 311k. Actually, it's minus 26 it's shifted to. It was a lot bigger than that, so it's obviously they didn't update it when the time came. Over the next few weeks, he's looking at jumping up to about 381,000. So he's going to generate about 70k. Same amount of money that they're tipping Tim Kelly to make. The only difference is Coleman will still be 100 to 150k away from getting a decent player in, whereas Kelly will be sub 100k. So I think we can gladly make this move. Over the next few weeks as well, we should be getting Milan Murdoch potentially coming back in. So Watkins down to Murdoch seems like a play that'll bank us shy of 100k just there alone. Anderson again is another one that's coming in, so we could see if Carroll doesn't lift his game, a Carroll drop down. With DPP, we could move a Philippou on if I don't think Milan Murdoch actually will get DPP this time around, but once he does, Philippou could be on the out. So I think those are the three trades we're doing. Walsh, English, Cherry out. We're bringing in Kelly, Gawn, and Grundy. I'm not resting on my laurels. I mean, 100 average, we're bringing in somebody who was averaging a little bit more than what Walsh is, and he's 20k cheaper, and we've been able just then to bring in Gawn and Grundy, which is huge for us, especially given the upcoming round when we talk about vice captains and captains, because straight up, you have a look here, Melbourne is running into Essendon. Now, this is funny because we have Tristan Cherry 2 weeks ago come up against Essendon. He gets suspended. English comes up against Essendon last week, does his MCL. So there's a kind of meme going around right now that Essendon is like a kiss of death on Primo Rucks, but I'm still confident enough to say, yep, you know what, Maxi Gawn, take my vice captain. Against, if he can go 175 and absolutely towel up Jared Witts, who is a very serviceable ruckman by all means. 150, 160 against Essendon is not out of the realm of possibility here. Sydney, playing the Gold Coast. Similar circumstances. Jared Witts just got absolutely beaten up around the ground. Can we potentially look at a Brodie Grundy option here? Does Bontempelli against Hawthorn, tease anybody? If we've got Finn Callaghan, if we've got Lockie Ash, if we've got Lockie Whitfield, GWS against Richmond could be a very good opportunity to slap the vice captain, or the captaincy rather, on one of those. Adelaide versus Carlton, if you've got Jordan Dawson, Rory Laird is coming back in against Carlton, could be a good possibility. Right at the end here, Zach Butters against St Kilda is very interesting, but you would think a Marcus Windhager tag would probably go to Zach Butters, so I'm very, very worried about putting an option on him there. I don't know what we do here. I definitely feel the option is to go, and we can't even, or you could go Vice Captain Gawn into Grundy, which might be the play. I think that might be the play for me this week. I'm just worried about a potential tag that will shut down Bontempelli against Hawthorn. I don't have anybody else that really stands tall. I mean, Adelaide against Carlton, Worrell in defence. Actually, Worrell in defence could be a good shout for vice captain. If he goes out and he scores a 120 or 130, that could be the go. And then captaincy into Gawn. I might actually do that. We might actually do something a little bit different this week. Let's do that. I don't think I'm fumbling with Grundy over Witts. We definitely got to lock in Gawn over Essendon because that's the play, right? And then obviously now that we've got all of our players available to us, we start putting other players back on. So Jack Sinclair comes back on. Nick Dacos comes back in for Blamires. And we'll put the emergency on Blamires. We're taking it off of Watkins. In our forward line, we will take... Yeah, what I'm going to do, actually, is I'm going to put the emergency on Steen up forward, and then dependent on how he plays, we'll leave Todd Marshall on the field to take his emergency, because Todd Marshall won't play this week. If Stein doesn't get 60, 70 points, I'll put Philippou on there and we'll take his score, because that's the last game of the round, so we can afford to do that. Robertson will come in this week, so he's staying there, but I think that's what we do. ZZ Top obviously isn't playing. A lot of people saying, oh, we can get in Steen this week, and what I'm thinking of doing eventually is maybe moving ZZ and Stein. I'm surprised he didn't get a run given the fact that Gardner is injured, but we've got Harris Andrews that comes back this week. Will we see him appear again? I thought on his one game that he played a very good game. At any rate, that is where we're landing. Gonna roll the dice with Worrell as our vice captain, and then we go into Gawn. Oh, do we just go Gawn and Grundy? I mean, Worrell, if he scores 120, you think Gawn's going to get higher than that. So I'm going to be tempted to just keep the captain score anyway. But there's 3 hours between that and that. So at least by half time with that Melbourne game, we would have indication, I suppose. And he's the last game of the round anyway, so let's do that. We're going to go Max Gawn as our vice captain, and then see how he's going at halftime. If he looks like he's going to monster, we take the captain score. If not, we shift the captaincy to Brodie Grundy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully the roll of the dice pays off here. 3 big moves. We've brought in a solid forward option in Tim Kelly. We've got Max Gorn, we've got Brodie Grundy. Hopefully this sees us move back up the ladder once more. Do hope you guys appreciated today's video. If you did, I would like it if you hit that like button down below. Thank you very much. And leave a comment down below. Let me know how you've been going in SuperCoach and the trades that you are making this week. Let's have a talk about it. Before you leave, if you want to get on board the SuperCoach League that we have, feel free to check out the description down below. While you're down there, there's a link to my footy tipping competition as well. Both free to join. Come and have some fun. Last but certainly not least, if you want to get on board the community we are piecing together here on this channel, hit that subscribe button before you walk out the door. I would appreciate that if you did so as well. But that's it from me, guys. I'm out of here, and as always, I will catch you guys next time.